Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Mavit Dvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये. ॐ श्रीकृष्णपरमात्मने नमः. अथ कर्मयोगः. So yesterday Dr. Mara had read, I think, the verse 28. It was completed, I believe, but I will just try to quickly browse through. And just a small request, my glasses are broken, so if I make some mistake, please correct me. Tattva Vittu
Sorry, Chaikurudev Bela.
Yes, Brahmaraj.
Bela, if it's difficult for you to read, don't
No,
worry,
I
Bela.
can read. No problem. I can read. But if some correction is there, then somebody can correct me if it is read wrong.
Okay. Let me know if that's a difficulty for you to read. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Dhanyavad. You can just check if I am making mistake, then you can stop me, Brahmaraj, anytime. It was verse 28, Dr. Mara did, yeah, right, yesterday?
Yes.
So may I just quickly browse through the verse meaning?
Yeah, you can
and the
repeat this.
headlines.
Yes.
तत्त्ववित्तु महाबाहो गुणकर्मविभागयोः गुणागुणेषु वर्तन्त इति मत्वा न सज्जते. Whereas, O Arjuna, the knower of the truth, knowing the distinction between body, mind, sense complex, and action, knowing that the senses, mind, and organs of action engage themselves with reference to their respective objects alone, is not bound. I repeat, whereas, O Arjuna, the knower of the truth, knowing the distinction between body, mind, sense complex, and action, knowing that the senses, mind, and organs of action engage themselves with reference to their respective objects alone, is not bound. The nature of delusion. We had seen that both Gnani and Agnani have this ahankara. The difference between the two being that the Gnani does not take the self to be Karya Karana Sanghata, whereas the Agnani does, which is why there is samsara for him or her. Samsara is in the self for the self. Very important paragraph, as Brahmaraji had very beautifully explained, that Hriday Granthi, which is there, we all are, we believe that I am the Karta, and that doership, Kartrutvaship, Bhuktruttvaship, both are there. and Atma is taken to be the Karya Karana Sanghata. I will just quickly read. Because the Atma is taken to be the Karya Karana Sanghata Atma, there are individuals, each of whom is unique and distinct from every other individual. Thus, there is an as though division, an as though duality, Dvaita. The Shruti does not say there is Dvaita. It says only that there is as though duality. Dvaitam eva bhavati. What wherever there is this as though duality, there is death, mrityu, there is time, there is samsara. So beautiful. The Jnani is referred to as Tattvavita in this verse. The suffix tva is added to a noun to convey its abstract sense, its essence. For example, the truth or essence of a pot, ghatasya tattvam, becomes ghatatva, potness. In English, the suffix ness is used in the same way. That is a pronoun and as such can stand for anything. Thus, tattva refers to that which is the truth or essence of everything. Tasya bhavaha. The one who knows the truth about oneself, the world, and God is called Tattvavita. And the one who does not know this truth is called Atattvavita. In this verse, Tattvavita refers to one who knows the truth of the gunas, the modification, that is the body, mind, sense complex, as well as of the karmas, meaning that the person can distinguish between the two. The distinction vibhaga here is that the body mind sense complex is an instrument, karana, a karana, sorry. The distinction vibhaga here is that body mind sense complex is an instrument, a karana. It is not the Atma. I, the Atma, is not the Karana, the sense organs or the mind or the Karya, the physical body. While the body, mind, while the mind and senses perform their actions, they are only Karanas, instruments. Atma is not an instrument. It is the self, the content of the subject, the doer. Therefore, a distinction is to be made between the essence of the subject and the instrument. So, unlike sense organs, Atma is not the instrument. Actually, it is the very subject. It is that existence itself. The subject and its instruments. The subject cannot be taken as an instrument because the instrument being wielded by the subject is necessarily in the hands of the subject. You are handling the body, you are handling the mind and senses. The subject cannot be taken as the very thing that it handles, just as you cannot take the spoon or fork that you eat with as yourself. That you are holding the fork in your hand does not mean that the fork is you. It is simply an instrument that you wield. Similarly, you wield your mind and senses, you operate them. You wield your physical body, you operate it. Therefore, they are merely instruments, and the doership imputed to Atma is simply a thought belonging to the mind. Such a beautiful example that when you are holding the spoon or fork, that doesn't mean you are holding it for eating. It doesn't mean that you are that spoon or fork. The dress you are wearing, that is not you. The one who knows the Karana as the Karana and the Atma as the Atma is one who knows the truth of both. The one who knows the truth of Atma also knows the truth of Anatma and is therefore a Tattvavita. This then is what is meant by Guna Vibhaga. So I hope that the difference is clear. Karya Karana Sanghata. Atma is not the Karana. It is the very subject. It is the very existence. Atma is not the Karta. Atma does not perform any action. Only the gunas perform action. Action does not come from the Atma. It emanates from the gunas, from the Karya Karana, from the Karya Karana, from the physical body, mind, and senses alone. Any fancy or desire is a modification of the mind. But you may not go along with the desire or fancy. Many desires rise and fall simply because we do not bother about them. This happens because of a particular function of the mind that enables me to decide whether to go along with the desire or not. In such a decision, there are various considerations, pragmatic and ethical considerations, among others. Is this necessary for me? Is a pragmatic consideration undertaken by the Atma in the form of Buddhi. Very beautiful. I read this once again. Any fancy or desire is a modification of the mind. But you may not go along with the desire or fancy. Many desires rise and fall simply because we do not bother about them. This happens because of a particular function of the mind that enables me to decide whether to go along with the desire or not. In such a decision, there are various considerations, pragmatic and ethical considerations, among others. Is this necessary for me? Is a pragmatic consideration undertaken by the Atma in the form of buddhi. With the organs of action or the sense organs, you perform karma. Whatever you do, eat, walk, or engage yourself in any kind of pursuit, some sense organ is involved. The truth of this karma, however, is that Atma is not directly involved in the activity. Atma is not a desire or a decision, nor does it desire or make decisions. Desires and decisions are always in the form of vrittis, modifications of the mind. These vrittis are Atma, no doubt, but Atma is none of them. Thus, all karma emanates from modifications of the mind, vrittis, and does not come from the Atma. Such an important paragraph. I read once again. With the organs of action or the sense organs, you perform karmas. Whatever you do, eat, walk, or engage yourself in any kind of pursuit, some sense organ is involved. The truth of this karma, however, is that Atma is not directly involved in the activity. Atma is not a desire or a decision, nor does it desire or make decisions. Desires and decisions are always in the form of vrittis, modifications of the mind. These vrittis are Atma, no doubt, but Atma is none of them. Thus, all karma emanates from modifications of the mind, vrittis, and does not come from the Atma. So, whatever you do with your karmendriyas and jnanendriyas, whether you eat, walk, engage in any kind of activity, the truth is it is it is the modification of the mind. It is due to the vrittis and not directly, Atma is not directly involved.
So this means without Atma, these things are not there. Atma is not them, but without the
The
presence of
presence is
Atma
required.
is required because
Mhm.
they're all as though.
Mhm.
That is why a Tattvavit is one who knows both Atma as well as Anatma. He needs to know the
Mhm.
difference, that Vibhaga. Guna Vibhaga is required. It's not enough if he only knows the truth. It is he needs to know Atma as well as Anatma.
Mhm. And yesterday, very nice sentence you had told. Whatever you are able to perceive is all anatma.
Yeah.
I think as we go ahead, it will be the about the prakriti, about the gunas. Anyone wants me to repeat anything, please let me know or share anything. Everything is a modification of prakriti alone. The one who knows the nature of karma and the nature of atma, and therefore the distinction between the two, looks upon prakriti as it really is. Prakriti is Prakriti, also called Maya, in its entirety is the cause for everything in that it modifies itself into everything. The body, mind, and senses are Prakriti, and the sense objects, the world, Jagat, are also Prakriti. All are modifications, gunas of Prakriti alone. And these two Prakritis are in touch with each other. One Prakriti is Karya Karana Prakriti in the form of instruments of perception and action, and the other Prakriti is in the form of objects, Vishayatmika Prakriti. Vishayatmika Prakriti. So beautiful. This verse explains that the gunas in the form of instruments of perception and action engage themselves in activity in the spheres of the respective objects, guneshu. Okay, there is a full stop. Guneshu. I read once again. Everything is a modification of Prakriti alone. The one who knows the nature of karma and the nature of Atma, and therefore the distinction between the two, looks upon Prakriti as it really is. Prakriti, also called Maya, in its entirety is the cause for everything in that it modifies itself into everything. The body, mind, and senses are Prakriti, and the sense objects, the world, Jagat, are also Prakriti. All are modifications, gunas of Prakriti alone. And these two Prakritis are in touch with each other. One Prakriti is Karya Karana Prakriti in the form of instruments of perception and action, and the other Prakriti is in the form of objects, Vishayatmika Prakriti. This verse explains that the gunas in the form of instruments of perception and action engage themselves in activity in the spheres of the respective objects. Guneshu. Guna Guneshu Vartanti. This means that the eyes engage themselves in the sphere of forms, rupa, the forms being guna. Sight is itself is guna, and the seen object is also guna. Similarly, hearing is guna, and the objects heard, the sounds, are also guna. In this way, these gunas, guneshu, with reference to objects, vartante, engage themselves in the activity. This means that I do not perform any action at all. Knowing this, the wise person is not bound. Matva na sajjate. So beautiful. I read once again. This means that the eyes engage themselves in the sphere of forms, rupa, the forms being guna. Sight itself is guna, and the seen object is also guna. Similarly, hearing is guna, and the objects heard, the sounds, are also guna. In this way, these gunas, guneshu, with reference to objects, vartante, engage themselves in activity. This means that I do not perform any action at all. Knowing this, the wise person is not bound. Matva na sajjate. So the Jnani is not bound because he knows the these two types of Prakriti. That there is a Karana Prakriti and the the Vishayatmika Prakriti. And he knows, the Jnani knows that it is not I who is performing this, any of these actions through my eyes, through my ears, through my tongue, through my nose. And they are not bound. Just try to remember those Gopikas and Krishna's dialogue where they went to feed the Rishi who ate everything they cooked, and still he said, I have not eaten anything. Knowing the truth of Atma and Karma, the Tattvavita does not become attached to any karma. Such attachment is not possible because the person knows that he or she does nothing. To become attached, there must be a vritti, which is non separate from Atma, while Atma is always free from any vritti. Because there is no connection, no attachment between the vritti and Atma, there can be no attachment to any karma for one who knows that Atma is always free. That is, for the one who knows that Atma is asangaha. A problem arises when you say you must become asanga, detached. You do not become asanga. That you are asanga is a fact to be known. Such beautiful. I read once again this line. A problem arises when you say you must become asanga, detached. You do not become asanga. That you are asanga is a fact to be known. There is no becoming here. You can never become detached. What you want to be detached from is always in your head. Therefore, you can never detach from it. Even when you say you are detached from it, you are already attached because you are talking about it. A person who throws away some garbage and says, I gave away my garbage, still has the garbage in his or her head. The garbage was outside and now it is inside. This is exactly how we have collected so much garbage. As the nature of Atma, detachment is already an accomplished fact. Knowing this, one is not bound. Iti matva na sajjate. The person looks upon himself or herself as a non-doer, akarta aham asmi. Actionlessness itself. Previously, Krishna said that by not performing an action, a person does not gain naishkarmya, the state of actionlessness. Knowing the self to be free from any type of action, doership is not there. When there is no doership, there is no karma. In this sense, knowing there is no doership, a person is free from all karma. This then is the difference between the Tattvavita and the Atattvavita. So beautiful. So there is no becoming detached. You are already free. You are already detached. And the one who knows this is a Jnani. He is the Tattvavita because he knows the difference between Atma and Anatma. And Bhagwan is warning in between very beautifully. He said, by not doing karma an action, a person does not gain naishkarmya, the state of actionlessness. Knowing the self to be free from any type of action, doership is not there. So, amidst the activity, within that, the pravritti, when you become nivritta, that is the freedom. That I am not the karta, akarta ahamasmi. And you are already free. You are already such beautiful or asanga. You don't have to become asanga. You are already that. Asangoham, asangoham.
And also that beautiful example of the garbage.
Hmm.
You don't say, I have removed garbage. You've just thrown the garbage and that's it. Period. But if you proclaim, I threw garbage, that garbage now is in the mind. You're still not free from it. Same way when we talk of surrender. You can't say, oh, I have surrendered. Then it is still stuck in your mind. It's a matter of understanding. It's not a matter of doing. That is why when people say, oh, I have to give up my ego, what Gurudev very beautifully says, why is the ego a problem? Let it be where it is. The moment you say, I have given up my ego, you are still stuck with it. Because that ahambhava is still there.
Hmm.
So ego is part of the prakriti, part of the karya karana sanghata. So seeing it as different from the self is different from all of this. It is doing its job. That is why Gurudev says, he says, you keep your ego in your pocket, just like how you keep money in your pocket. Without the ego, action is not possible. So let it do its, you don't be bothered by it. And another thought that came to me is about the dream. See, only when you're asleep, you can dream. When you're awake, there is no question of dreaming. So for
Mm.
a tattvavid who's always awake to knowledge, awake to the truth, there is no dream, no world that really exists outside of him. Everything
So
is
no,
he sees as the
it
self,
is.
yeah, as what it is.
So no delusion.
There's no delusion. He knows that distinction clearly.
Mm. Here, Brahmaraji, when Prakriti, two types it is said, Karya Karana and Vishaya Prakriti. So, in the same way, the Paramatma is also material and efficient cause. Both it is. In the same way, Prakriti also is the same, right?
Prakriti includes everything that we see, that is, including the objects,
Perceivable. Yeah.
perceivables. So
Hmm.
it is the very beautifully it was given. The sight, eyes are part of the Karya Karana Sanghata. That is also Prakriti. The sight is also Prakriti. What you see, an object like an apple or a mango, that is also Vishayatmika Prakriti.
Hmm.
So Anatma is both. What you think is belongs to you, that is the Karya Karana Sanghata. That plus the objects. So
Hmm.
the sum total of all this is is what Prakriti is. It's just a projection. It's an as though.
Hmm.
It's just that we have identified ourselves over the years, over lifetimes, with the body, mind, sense complex. We are seeing, we are not able to see, like how a Tattvavid is able to see. He sees the distinction between the self as well as all the gunas of Prakriti, the Prakriti Janita, which is the Karya Karana Sanghata as well as the Vishayatmika Prakriti.
Hmm.
For an Ajnani, this distinction is not there. We see Vishayatmika as separate from the Karya Karana Sanghata, and we don't see the distinction between the self and this. We see the self as Karya Karana Sanghata also. And that is why we have the
Hmm.
doership and the
Hmm.
enjoyership.
Hmm. And that forms the vrittis also.
Yeah. And that it's that
Hmm.
vritti, it's that vritti which comes and says, oh, I am this.
Hmm.
And
And I
vritti
have to
also
become
is
this.
part of the mind only, right? Mind
Hmm.
is nothing but a series of vrittis.
Hmm.
Sorry, you were saying something.
No, no, very that only in connection with that only. So for Tattvavita, that Viveka Buddhi is there, right? That the
Yes,
difference between.
yes,
Mhm. So that Buddhi word in the previous paragraphs where we read, it is that Viveka Buddhi, right?
yeah.
Very beautiful.
But here, a word of caution is It can be argued that, oh, I'm not the doer, so anything can be done. But that anything has to be according to dharma. And
mm,
you cannot say, like Gurudev, I think, gives an example. Oh, I am not the doer, so I can go and steal. I can go and do things that are, um, I can do anything for that matter. I'm still not the doer. But what Gurudev very nicely says, you are not the doer. So you do something wrong and the police comes and catches you. You are not also the sufferer, right? So
mm.
that you can't say, I'm not the doer only for your actions. Even the consequences, if you're ready to forego, then yes, you're the doer, not the doer. But a person who's a tattvavit would not do anything which is not in line with dharma. Although
Mm.
technically he or she can kill, can destroy, can steal, all of that, but that he or she would do things which are dharmic. This is what China also had mentioned. It says, don't be under the impression that because you're not the doer, you're got a free license to do everything and anything and say, oh, I'm not the doer. As long as it's in line with dharma, yes. So as ajnanis, as mumukshus, we'll have to first follow dharma, that karma. That is why in the beginning it said in the verses before this, Yadyadacharati shreshtaha tatta deve taro janaha. That shreshta, that jnani has that responsibility to fulfill, to walk his talk,
Mm.
because the others will follow his example. He cannot do anything that comes to his whims and fancies. And he will not also. He will not.
That is why for the Gnani, all those, that is why for like people like Gurudev, they are able to forgive even those who are doing the heinous crimes because they know that behind every criminal or those who are doing wrong, there is something which is crying for help, and only compassion follows out of them.
And also, yes, very true. And that's also the reason why Gurudev says, see the whole past as a dream. Very often we get stuck to the past and say, oh, you said this
Hmm.
to me, you did this to me. And we get so stuck.
Hmm.
That is what psychologists do. They say, oh, this happened to you in your childhood. Your parents or whoever is responsible is because of that. And then that person, is so stuck in the past. So see the whole past as a dream. That is so freeing. It's
Hmm.
not that you don't learn from the past. He says like you must keep the past as a rear view mirror. You of course see forward, but time to time you'll have to look at the rear view mirror. So you learn from the past, learn from your mistakes. Commit new mistakes, Gurudev says. Don't commit the same mistakes. So that much past, that much how much that is how much we need to learn from the past or keep the past in the mind. But beyond that, it is living in the moment, moment to moment.
Mhm. Every line is so meditative here. Knowing you are not a doer, what do you do? When this is so, what should you do? Suppose you know you are a karta and the other person whose welfare you are interested in takes himself or herself to be a karta. Should you tell the person not to do karma? Definitely not. If at all he or she is available for this knowledge, all you can say is Atma is a karta. This alone is the truth, and anything else is a distortion of it. To tell someone not to do karma is the same as saying that performing karma is bondage. If the person still looks upon himself or herself as a karta, being deluded in this way, he or she will only become lazy, nothing more. Therefore, all you can do is tell the person to do karma, but to do it according to dharma. This much alone you can say. This is what the scriptures enjoin also. Not performing any action will eventually result in a person doing something that is not to be done. What is not proper for you is not proper for the other person also. There are universal implications inherent in all action. If you compromise with this universal fact, for example, by robbing someone, even though you yourself do not want to be robbed, you may think you can get away with it, but you cannot. This the scriptures tell us. Otherwise, we would not need a scripture. Common sense would be enough. The scripture does not need to tell me that it is wrong to rob. This I knew even as a child. When my older brother took the chocolate out of my hand, I complained to the heavens. I cried and created havoc in the house because I knew very well that he robbed what I held as mine. He took it away. Everyone is very clear on this point and does not need a scripture for it. Nor do we need someone to come and preach to us about things we already know. What the scriptures and preachers are saying, however, lest we do not know it, is that we should not think we can get away with improper actions. This then is an extra revelation. extra information provided by the scripture. It says that the person you do not get away with improper actions is because there is a law that is impossible to get around. The moment you commit a wrong action, a debit is registered against your name. The whole law is based on credit and debit, both of which are automatically recorded to your account. Also, there is no way of manipulating this law. It is already programmed to record whatever action you perform. Everything has been taken care of. This law is not a computer that you, the wizard, the karta, can manipulate. You can, however, erase it by means of a different operation. This then is additional information that the scripture may talk about. Because the information is revelation, something that we have no other way of knowing, the scripture is given the status of revealed knowledge. So the whole universe is based on the automation. I always say this in my words. Whatever you do, what the seeds which you sow, they will sooner or later they will have its result, whether it is good or bad. Bad, it means according to dharma or adharma. I will just repeat this paragraph, last one. This then is an extra revelation, extra information provided by the scripture. It says that the reason you do not get away with improper actions is because there is a law that is impossible to get around. The moment you commit a wrong action, a debit is registered against your name. The whole law is based on credit and debit, both of which are automatically recorded to your account. Also, there is no way of manipulating this law. It is already programmed to record whatever action you perform. Everything has been taken care of. This law is not a computer that you, the wizard, the karta, can manipulate. You can, however, erase it by means of a different operation. This then is additional information that the scripture may talk about. Because the information is revelation, something that we have no other way of knowing, the scripture is given the status of revealed knowledge. So beautiful. Like in the childhood, we already knew what are wrong actions. If your sibling had stolen the chocolate, you knew. So you had made the havoc, and everyone knew that that was the wrong action. You do not need scripture's help. But when you have those automated system is there in the universe where everything like Chitragupta, whatever credit or debit, it is already accounted. Yeah, if you want me to repeat or if you wish to share, please do share. I think we still have 2 minutes. I will just complete this paragraph. How to help others in terms of this knowledge. A person who performs action because he or she looks upon himself or herself as the karta should not be told to refrain from action because karma is bondage. It is bondage, no doubt, but telling the person so is not going to make him or her free. If, however, you really care for the person and he or she cares for your words, then you can share what you know. Otherwise, your talk will just go over the person's head. It is like someone who is interested in this knowledge trying to explain to his or her parents what he or she is studying. Because the parents do not understand, they will only ask themselves what they did wrong for their child to have been steered in such a useless direction. We must have been a little too severe, and that is why our child listens to this. Yeah, okay. I think we will do this tomorrow. We have the daily sadhana. Okay. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ तत्सत् सर्वं श्रीकृष्णार्पणमस्तु जय गुरुदेव